Hi, welcome to Wise Beyond Bitcoin, your home for the crypto neo news, education, and opportunity. My name is Ryan,
My name is Lucas.
and we have another installment in our macro outlook series where we look at current events, macroeconomic issues, the Fed, monetary policy. Now, war is a big part of it as well. And we draw conclusions about asset prices, financial markets, and crypto markets specifically. So that's the focus for today. But this is not financial advice or legal or commercial or military either. This is just our research and two guys chatting it up about things they're interested in. So take it all with a grain of salt.
And we'll
Lucas?
start with take some time to send some love and some good energy, prayers, meditation, whichever way you like to those families out there in Ukraine and in Russia, because
Yeah,
there are boys and girls wearing uniforms on both sides. And
sure.
let's hope in the 21st century where we're at now that some enlightenment and a better way can come in the hearts and the minds of those people guiding these young boys and girls around the world for a more peaceful solution.
Indeed. Well, I'm sure unless you've been living under a rock, you've heard that the Russian military is invading and has invaded Ukraine, shelling major cities. Troops are running, coming in from the north and the south, and so we've got a small little war on our hands, right? And the markets are not a fan of that. They had a bit of a sell off this morning, and then the losses have been recouped. So we're kind of flat, I guess you would say, or somewhat up for the day. Gold has taken some profit off the table as the markets returned. And one of the things that's driving this is a sort of a strong dollar. And this will make sense to you if you really think about it for a second. But the dollar is just one of a series of fiat currencies, and we often criticize it and look at how much debt the government has and how much inflation is a problem and all that. But still, the U.S. is one of the strongest economies, one of the most stable economies in the world, and the dollar is seen as a safe haven. So when things go crazy and there's real uncertainty in the world, people tend to rush out of weaker, more risky currencies, and they go to a safe haven, which is the dollar. So as that happens, the dollar rises in value. It strengthens, and that's what this article is discussing. The dollar's jumped to near a 2-year high as this war unfolds. And why I bring this up is to only say that, hey, this is a headwind or a barrier to a very aggressive rate hike, right? So we've got a strengthening dollar, and the idea behind the rate hike that we're all anticipating and talking about that's supposed to be coming, that's going to make it kind of complicates that picture, because it would further strengthen the dollar, right? So you've got a strengthening dollar, policy changes and would further strengthen it. And the risk there is that as the dollar strengthens and becomes more valuable, it makes U.S. exports more expensive for our trading partners. So that tends to reduce those exports. Those sales are reduced and can they can easily slow down quite a bit, and that's very bad for growth, for GDP, for those obviously for the companies that have those inventories is not good. And there's other things too, but that's one of the main pathways where a stronger currency can be bad for the economy in the short term. So that's something to think about. And the reason I mention this is that it's and this article gets into it. There's a quote here from Cleveland, I believe, the Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester. She came out and said that this situation in the Ukraine is going to have to be factored in when we're discussing the path of monetary policy going forward. So, in other words, whatever plans for the rate hike that we had formed need to be adjusted and to take into consideration what happens when war breaks out. And we just talked about one of the things that makes a difference, right? The value of the dollar that changes. That's not a constant. It shifts given the context and the geopolitical situation. So all this is to say, the chance for an aggressive rate hike in the coming weeks, days, looks to be diminished according to this guy, Mohammed Al Ryan, who you might have seen on the news or on CNBC, he says it's off the table. So that's definitely bullish for asset prices, right? Wouldn't you say?
The reason for the response that we've seen in the market, because
Yeah,
although this being the largest attack on European soil since World War II,
yeah,
and generally, like you said, markets don't respond well to war, but knowing what's going on in the world at large, in the economy, and the debt crisis that's happening, which is a worldwide debt crisis, considering that the US dollar is also the reserve currency. Now we were talking about 5 to 6 times of rate hikes this year, and being right around the corner, right before we even begin these rate hikes. It's
already being,
so think about that. All of that sell off and all of that action in the markets they were able to achieve without even touching raising of the interest rates once.
Just talking about touching the raising of the interest rates.
Talking about how many times, talking about it again. And so now they say, well, it's off the table right now. Of course, the Fed hasn't come out and said it, but it's the talk. It's the talk of the town. And there you go. You're starting to see people have a little bit more confidence in the market.
Yeah. And well, there's also some silver lining here we should mention, is that the labor market recovery seems to be continuing gaining steam, and that the unemployment rolls are showing the smallest claims for unemployment in 52 years. So that's huge, right? That's very bullish just in general, and shows that the economy, while it is dealing with inflation and the debt problem you mentioned, that there is still some underlying health, that things are still functioning to some degree, right? So yes, that is good news, and I believe leads us to our next point. Is that the next point, I don't have an article for this, but it's okay. The next point is that the when an idea just leaves your head all of a sudden and you can't get it back.
Oh yeah, it happens.
That just happened.
Oh wait, we were going to talk about the sanctions. What about the sanctions?
Let's go to that. Okay.
Can we talk about the sanctions, because that's a part of what's going on right now?
Yes, and I think it'll get us back to where I was heading with that too. So yeah, there's sanctions have been announced. The U.S. is announcing sanctions on Russia, and they were announced recently. That definitely is part of what made the market sell off yesterday. That's not good for economic activity, right?
Right.
And another big thing. This is a big story. So Germany is freezing the Nord Stream 2 gas project that they had in development with Russia, and that was a Russia to German pipeline for gas. And this is this is big. Russia is mostly an energy producer. They're not an industrial powerhouse churning out high tech output, or like China, or they do a lot of it. They're doing a lot of mining and refining and natural resources, right? So this pipeline is cutting this potential loss of this pipeline is significant, in their hit to their accounting. So these are the sorts of responses that we're seeing. Sanctions, economic reprisal instead of military, which is great, because nobody wants to see a real war between nuclear powers in Europe, right? That's just not going to be good for the life, for ecology of the land going forward, or for the human dimension of course wouldn't be good either. And then not to mention the financial, right? War at that level is incredibly expensive. Lots of resources are wasted. So yeah, the idea that we're not committing troops to fight this battle, I think that's a good thing. I was not a fan of a military response. I'm much more open to seeing the sanctions, and hopefully not just the U.S. going alone, but some kind of international agreement, some cooperation amongst the democratic states. That would be good. But I think that brings up an issue that we both like talking about, is who are the sanctions going to target? What's the effect? is that really the way to go? And, what are your thoughts?
Well, you look at League of Nations and what led up to World War II and Germany, what cost them afterwards to have to pay the debt to the world. And what happens when you impoverish a whole nation? Who are you really punishing? And if you have sanctions on a population, who are the people that aren't getting the food and aren't getting the water? Is it really, like you said, is it really the people at the top, or the troops, or is it the population in general?
Yeah.
So the question is, it's good to see troops not being committed to fighting for, and are you clear as to what is so necessary about, like, what's the reason why Putin and Russia feel that people need to be killed to make a point?
I think they just want the land. If they could do it without killing people, they would. But
like a real estate title.
Yeah, they want to annex it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a war for territory. This is Hitler crossing over and acquiring Poland. Kind of, that's what you hear a lot as
But
an
who really
analog.
owns it? It's like, who really owns it? It's like, everyone's just paying taxes to somewhere in the first. It's all,
Well, I guess Putin would prefer
because whoever he's killing, they don't own the land. I can assure you.
No.
I can assure you that the people that are being bombed, they don't have title to the land that he wants.
Not at all. No.
I'm pretty sure that's
not. According to what I'm seeing on the news, he wants to install a friendly government. He wants to overthrow the Ukrainian government and put a new one in its place. And obviously that would be an alliance. And then also there's a certain region in the east where there are like a separatist movement of people who are ethnic Russians who are wanting to break away and form, their own. And so there's been conflict and battle inside the Ukraine between the Ukrainian government and this breakaway group. And of course that breakaway group's been funded by, and has alliances and cooperation with the Russians, of course, because they have the same agenda. So one of the things Putin has said is that this region is now an autonomous region. He's declared it to be separate from the Ukraine, and that it's autonomous, and that, he's putting this under the guise of, this is a peacekeeping mission. I'm putting these troops in here to support this autonomous region as they become a new state. So there's a lot of just narrative building and propaganda and, being discussed here about like what's the true intentions of what they're trying to do. But I think you could read it as pretty much just an annex, in a sense.
Well, hopefully this resolves peacefully soon. That's all I have to say. And I'll drop comment if you know more about it. I would love to understand more. And until then, we'll just keep covering this news as it unfolds and how it is going to possibly ripple out. And it's definitely, war is something that affects a lot more than those people nearby. And so send love to the families, the Russian, Ukraine families all over the world right now that have a lot of stress. And
definitely feeling for those people, sending healing vibes. It's definitely not a good time to be Ukrainian. So we'll keep doing the macro videos. We love them. And there's a lot to talk about. Every few days we feel like we got to churn a new one out because the story is changing and things are evolving. There's new things to talk about. But there's also the same kind of thing happening in the secret network, right? We have playlists about secret NFTs, how to start your secret journey, how to get a Kepler wallet, how to stake, send, swap, how to choose a validator. We have all kinds of stuff on the IBC as well and other crypto ecosystems. If you're just getting started, we check those playlists out. And of course, the airdrop and opportunities playlist is money, and literally and figuratively. So check those out.
Opportunities out there, and maybe opportunities for charities and donations, because this is definitely going to be a time where people are going to be finding creative ways to support those. We look at blockchain, what it did to help people in Venezuela or countries where their currency, and we didn't have an article, but didn't you hear about banks?
Let's talk about that.
Banks were freezing in Ukraine. People not having access to capital because of what's happening in the war. And this is why we talk about Hex or Bitcoin or secret network,
Crypto in general.
blockchain, crypto in general, these playlists. The idea is that this is a new technology. You say autonomous. We talk about decentralized autonomous organizations all the time. So maybe Putin and the Russians and the people over there can come up with a DAO, a peaceful blockchain DAO that would be able to accomplish the same thing without the violence.
I heard a joke. We just need to give Putin an NFT that says he owns Ukraine and just forget about it.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Give the man a title.
Give him a title.
I mean, it's not like he's the one collecting the taxes. He's not out there like, hey, this is my title. Just get the title and let's move on. Because I think the food and the music and the parks, all that's going to remain the same, right? The people there, the culture, and they just
well, it remains to be seen.
Yeah,
there's a history, not such a good history with the Ukrainian people and the Soviet Union. There's been different famines. Some say man-made famines, bordering on genocide. So it's hard to say whether or not
most famines are man-made.
Man-made, yeah, right.
Yeah.
But let's go back to that banking thing before we wrap it up. There's been cyber attacks on the Ukrainian banking system. There's been changes in how much you can withdraw. I think you can withdraw $300 or $350 in equivalent in the Ukrainian money. So it's very hard to get money right now. There's people robbing people who leave the ATM. So it's very difficult to get any kind of wealth out of your account, out of the country. So it really does highlight the importance for non-nation state monopolized sources of wealth to have access to them, right? Because you never know when the political conditions are going to shift, and your debit account or your credit or whatever accounts you have, they might not be available. So it's not that you shouldn't have them, but it's good to be diversified. You need some coin, you need some hard currency, some silver coins, some gold coins. Of course, you need to have a checking account so you can pay your bills. But to be able to to be able to get on a plane, memorize 12 words, and have all your money on a blockchain digitally that's borderless, that is huge. And I think as time goes on, as we see, whether it's war displacing people and having them need to flee, or whether it's governments cracking down on political dissidents and shutting off their accounts or whatever happens, I think we're going to continue to see that there's a need for privacy in banking and separating money from the state to some degree. However, to some degree. And I think that's going to be a need that we'll know better as time goes on.
Definitely. Privacy, which is why we cover, you mentioned playlists earlier. If you'd like to stay up on top of the macro outlook, as well as what's going on blockchain and DeFi and those innovative solutions that are helping people overcome this now and in the future, well, we like to cover it. So subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. We look forward to keeping you up to date on the latest and greatest, the secret updates and more. What can you see? I can see we're going to do a video on cryptocurrency, blockchain, and how certain protocols affect the Cantillon effect. Pretty soon.
Oh yeah, Cantillon effects, distribution of new money, how that affects wealth and living class issues. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Which is when we talk about war, it's one of those things that the Cantillon effect has been known to help fund for the better part.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
we'll definitely touch on some of that
and more. So you know what to do, where to go. I say, is that it?
I think we hit it. Yeah.
Cool. Till next time, have a beautiful day. Namaste, y'all.
Thank you.